Atheists are quick to point out the differences between religions as proof that people of faith have failed to come to any kind of consensus. That alone, they say, is enough to prove that faith is nothing more than a bunch of superstitious hogwash. But they're overlooking something when they resort to this argument. Even though there are literally thousands of different religions, there is one factor that they all have in common. I'm going to call it continuity. According to the Pew Research Center, 84% of people on this planet are affiliated with a religion. This means that the vast majority of humanity shares the belief that there is something more to our existence than this life. Whether it's heaven, nirvana, reincarnation, or returning your energy to the cosmos, people of faith all believe that some aspect of what we call us continues to exist beyond physical death. Hence, continuity. Atheists say that this is it. This is all there is. And when you die... Now, I love science. Almost more than I love barbecue. Probably less than pizza. I also believe that there's more to reality than science can explain. But what if I'm wrong? If atheists are right and science is the only appropriate way to interpret reality, what does the future look like for humanity as a species? Assuming we don't all meet our end by some man-made catastrophe like nuclear war, superviruses, a nanite gray goo apocalypse, or the ascendance of a hostile AI superintelligence. One thing is certain. If humanity is going to survive, we have to get off this planet. Now, astronomers and astrophysicists have some pretty convincing evidence which indicates that planet Earth is going to die. We're going to be eaten by the sun. Near the end of its life cycle, our sun will grow hotter and larger, eventually growing so big that it will swallow the Earth. Now, if you're thinking that Mars sounds like a pretty good place for our second home, think again. Mars may not get swallowed, but it will be burned to a crisp.
Bacon.
Oh, probably not. We have about 1 billion years left to figure out a way to avoid joining the Owen and Beru Barbecue Club. And then maybe 5 to 7 billion more years until the sun completely burns itself out. Now, all this extra heat might make it possible to colonize the outer solar system, for example, some of the moons around Jupiter and the other gas giants. But that will only be a temporary fix. Eventually, the sun will die, and we'll have to abandon this solar system altogether in order to survive. Hopefully, we can develop technology that will enable us to travel to other stars by that time, with the goal being to establish colonies all across the galaxy. But even if we find a way to go beyond this galaxy and develop an intergalactic civilization, the universe itself will eventually die. Incidentally, the Bible says the same thing. Scientists have several competing theories about how this will happen, but none of them have a happy ending. So, if the atheists are right and this life is all there is, what's the point of it all? Now, we like to say that the brevity of life gives it value, but does that still hold true if we're talking about the end of all life in the universe? Or is that just some empty platitude that we tell ourselves to try to ease our existential angst? I mean, sure, if life in the universe could go on forever, then the continuation of the species certainly makes for a strong argument. Everything that we do now would have an impact on the everlasting survival of the human race. So even though I'm going to die, I could at least know that my life contributed to keeping humanity alive forever. I could live with that. Well, until, But science, which is allegedly the guiding philosophy of the atheists, says no. Even though it may take trillions upon trillions of years, all life in the universe will come to an end. And all means all. Even if we happen to encounter super advanced alien civilizations, their eventual fate is no different than our own. Even if we somehow develop the ability to upload our minds into some kind of computer-based life, that too will be destined to die when the universe eventually uses up every last bit of energy. In the end, there will be no one left to witness the legacy of humanity, no one left to appreciate anything of value which we might leave behind. So if that's the case, then what's the point of it all? I've heard the origin of life, especially intelligent life, described by science as a happy accident. But if this is all there is, and it's all doomed to die and be forgotten, it really starts to seem like more of a cruel joke. Does anybody else feel like you're stuck in an Edgar Allan Poe story? Maybe Hemingway? Just me? Okay, sure. It's conceivable that we're all way off on the details. But at least we have hope. I have hope that even though I've been a less than perfect human, there's a place reserved for my soul after my body dies. And sure, some of us believe other things, like when you die, you come back in another form, or maybe we're all just part of the universe trying to experience itself in different ways. And maybe death just means returning to unity with some kind of universal mind. And sure, none of that stuff is scientific, but it gives us hope. Is that such a terrible thing? I mean, if the atheists are right, and I'm fooling myself by believing in God, who does that hurt? If we're all just gonna die and rot anyway, does being right about that make life better or more important? Would it make me a better person? Does it give me a reason to try to be a better person? What benefit is there in that line of reasoning? Because I don't see one at all. And religious beliefs provide more than hope. They teach us about right and wrong. They give us reasons to better ourselves. They teach us how to interact with each other, and they inspire us to do great things like creating beautiful art and music, architecture, and yes, even to pursue science so that we can better understand this amazing universe that we live in. Now, I can already imagine that there's a disgruntled atheist already typing something in the comments about how religion has been the cause of wars and suffering and persecution all throughout history. Well, okay, some humans have leveraged their religions to justify their own bad actions, and this holds for entire nations at times. Have you met a human lately? They're not exactly what you would call perfect or consistent, and there are some downright nasty ones. And some of the nasty ones have done some pretty awful things in the name of science. Like this guy. One can no more blame religion for humanity's evils than we can blame science for Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Humans have a bad habit of being bad. Now, setting aside anything supernatural and looking at religion from a purely sociological and historical standpoint, religion's primary benefit to humanity has always been in keeping our darker impulses in check. Now, yes, there have been anomalies and failures along the way, but without religion, we'd be centuries behind where we currently are in terms of societal progress by any measure, including science. So decide for yourself what to think about life, the universe, and everything, and feel free to talk about it down in the comments below. But as for me and my house...